Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Boy, was yesterday a fun day, unless you're Congress. It was a fun day if you like health freedom and if you like Bobby Kennedy and you like things related to that. Bobby got drug up before Congress so that they could try and, show their thing. And the nice thing about Bobby's experience as a lawyer is kind of, yeah, he's good on his feet, and that's one of those things that we do, right? So if you're a lawyer and you've ever done anything, you do have to be able to like move on your feet a little bit. And I think yours truly has got a few testimonies out there that have done pretty well because it's the same sort of thing. You go and you testify in front of these blowhards, and these politicians, state, federal, doesn't matter. And you always got some of these guys that are just there to try and play gotcha. They're just trying to score political points, trying to do this, trying to. Well, they tried that with Bobby, and it just didn't go real smoothly. So I got a boot out of that. Meanwhile, Congress is tired. I got to tell you guys, I feel bad for Mike Johnson. He's worn out. They were. This is like the third day of work this week or fourth. I don't know, but they're not working Friday this week because it's too much. It's just too much, and they can't do that. So yeah, no work on Friday for Congress this week. We'll see how things go. The next week, but definitely no work this week. So he's calling it a day. There's also the interesting thing in the news. There's an article in Gateway Pundit, and everybody's kind of grumpy about the judges and what they're doing and those sorts of things, and the apparent bias and apparent nonsense that's occurring there. And guy named Mosley has a solution, and it's an interesting solution. We'll get to it later. I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but he's got a very interesting solution in dealing with this. So it takes a little bit of analysis, a little bit of thinking. We'll get through that. I can put you all to sleep with it. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned if you have insomnia. So, but anyways, in the meantime, we want to talk about this Kennedy stuff. We got a whole bunch of good stuff to hit. Before we do that, I want to remind y'all, please support us, become a monthly donor. GiveSendGo.com slash Renslaw, GiveSendGo.com slash Renslaw. You can find it right here. Just go there and become a monthly donor. $20 a month, $50 a month, $75 a month. There's our friend Terry Beatley. We love Terry. God bless her. She's a wonderful woman, the Hosea Initiative. But become a monthly donor. Support us. Your help and support keep us fighting, keep us doing good things. So we appreciate anything you can do. And today, of course, as always, check out Kirk Elliott and Block Trust IRA for your crypto IRAs and satellite phone store. Wonderful stuff. And of course, we got Mark with us today. It's Thursday, so my dear friend Mark Sherwood is here. So make sure you're going down, checking out Kingdom Fuel and everything, the whole Kingdom Fuel line. And by the way, folks, I want to tell you, Mark and Michelle do a wonderful, wonderful work as doctors. If you click on this and you go here, you should consider, come right here and click on this. They will do all the testing. They can, peptides and hormone replacement, all the things that you need to not just be healthy, but to be your maximum health. To be, exceptional. Great stuff there. Make sure you're checking them out. You can get there through TomRenz.com, www.tomrenz.com. Of course, you've got to type it. But make sure you're supporting them. And also make sure that you're supporting today. Don't forget Dulce Sweeteners. We love Dulce Sweeteners. You can find them at TomRenz.com, www.tomrenz.com. And what you do is you just go there like this. Let me show you. You go to TomRenz.com, and then you click up here, you click shop, and you go to partners and affiliates, and whoop, right there you are, all done. And there we got it all. So make sure you're supporting these guys. And wonderful monk fruit sweetener, no aspartame, no cancer, no poison, just a wonderful sweetener. So, anyways, all right. Without further ado, let's get Mark on here because he's much more entertaining than me. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing well. I don't know about entertaining, Tom. I think you got definitely a market in that, man. You can do it.
Well, you get a face like this, you got to have something to offer, right? All right, Mark. You didn't get a chance to see Bobby do his thing yesterday, did you?
Didn't. I know you were going to share some clips, but I was like, man, I got to see him too. I heard it was good.
Yeah, it was. Let's start out at the beginning, and I want to start out, and this is I want to explain to everybody why I'm starting out with this. This is, I believe this is the clip, unless I got the wrong one queued up, which is always a possibility, where they're talking about the 300,000 kids that disappeared last year. And you may be saying to yourself, well, why is that a Maha thing? Well, it is a Maha thing. The kids that disappeared through an agency called ASPR, ASPR. And ASPR is part of the Department of Health and Human Services, and so it's under Bobby's purview. As the kids and as the illegals came in through Biden's open borders, it's HHS through ASPR that takes care of them, the emergency resettling, food, shelter, that sort of stuff. And so it's through ASPR. So ASPR is the one that lost those. So Bobby's very tied into this. And let's hear a little bit about what happened here.
No sound.
Oh, you know what I might need to do? I might need to put it on the screen.
Yeah, that was a test.
A little bit of a. I got to be honest with you all. I'm a little slow today. Here we go.
You're getting some energy.
I do. I actually really do need some Kingdom energy today, and I've even got it literally. No joke. I've got it right here because I use it all the time. I just.
I got mine too.
I forgot to make use of it. So, anyways, let's hear this about the kids.
You know approximately how many children over the last 4 years have gone missing or remain unaccounted for after being released by HHS? Have you looked into that?
The estimate, Congressman, from the Office of the Inspector General, and it's considered a very low estimate, is 291,000 children missing.
291,000. Oops. Lost my keys.
91,000 children.
But the estimate, the actual numbers are probably much higher than that. They could go up to 500,000. And if you look at the grand jury report from Florida, what happened to many of those children is just horrific. My predecessor was deliberately employing a policy of speed over safety. So they waived all of the identification requirements for sponsors. Sponsors were not required to show valid identification. They were never fingerprinted, so we didn't know if they had criminal records. There was no DNA testing, so their claims that they were taking a family member were
dubious at best.
Yeah, they were dubious. And we in Cleveland, according to the grand jury testimony and the grand jury findings in Florida, there are so many episodes. One of them is a man in Cleveland who picked up a 16-year-old girl claiming to be her brother, raped her, impregnated her, put her in a home where she was being regularly raped of all men, and then got a 16-year-old boy who disappeared and went back 2 other times for other children. This was happening again and again. One agency placed 592 children with 120 sponsors. 400 children were shipped to a town where there's a meat packing plant in Kansas. 400 children who, they had to come and claim that the sponsors had to claim that those children lived in that town. And we've seen fake ID where you have one guy who is photoshopped in with a whole bunch of different children, and he's showing up and picking up at these kids one at a time. The Biden administration knew about it. They saw the same pictures we did, and they did nothing. There's 160,000 help complaints that were never investigated. I've launched now a criminal task force. We've opened up 500 criminal investigations and already brought 80 to court. So we are going to try to do everything we can. We're working with DHS to find these children, but the federal government under the Biden administration became the biggest facilitator for child abuse probably in the history, certainly in the history of our country.
Well, thank you. I was going to ask you, how are you going to...
Okay. Isn't that encouraging? So think about that, Mark. I mean, listen, I know you're probably, not a de facto expert in You know, the way this child stuff works. But can you imagine? They're taking these kids in and they're giving them to people. They're not even asking. They don't even have a valid ID.
I think in this case, you're facilitating and legitimately facilitating sex trafficking, drug trafficking, etc. This is worse than just going missing.
Yeah,
I believe this is facilitation of criminal actions,
I would agree.
And it's not okay from the administration standpoint. And I hope that these criminal investigations do go deep enough and broad enough, and let me just say this, high enough to where bureaucrats don't avoid the law because of who they are, because this is inexcusable. And this is not a Democratic thing. This is not a Republican thing. This is not an independent thing, libertarian. This is a people thing. This is our future. These are children, man, and they did not deserve this.
No, it's. I really don't even know what to say about it. I mean, the thing that people got to understand is our government intentionally helped traffic children to the tune of hundreds of thousands of children. 400 kids sent to a town in the middle of nowhere to a meat packing plant. I wonder what happened there, right? I mean, the little girl that was raped over and over again. I mean, this is unbelievable. This isn't like I want people to understand this is not negligence. This is criminal on a massive scale. Mark, you were a cop. I mean, can you imagine if anybody in the private sector did even one kid like this?
No, you're talking about a situation. This is a criminal action. It shows intent. It shows disregard for human, or in this case, child safety. And you look at the whole system, the way it's set up, and I appreciate what Secretary Kennedy said about speed over safety, because I'm sure there was a lot of funds being poured into this system, and the more kids and I don't know this, but the more I'm certain this will be the case, the way people think, the more funds, the more people you can get through the system, the more funds you get into the system. So, I'm sure that's the motivating force. And I pray to God that we'll get to this point in our lives, Tom, where it will not be about money, it will be about people again.
Well, I'm praying that we get there too. I mean, right now, you just got to ask. I mean, so I understand that there's money, this, that, and other, but what would motivate? And I know you don't know the answer to this. I'm just kind of musing here, but think about this. What would motivate any political person to say, you know what, we're just, we got all this trafficking going on, and we're going to double down on it.
Just to, I've been around behaviors before, a lot of them in my previous career. And this is what I really believe is the case. When you get sociopathic, you don't feel, you don't reason, you can't even understand pain anymore. A sociopathic human being that has crossed that line can literally carve your heart out in front of you and then deny they did it or even there, even though you had a video about it. So that's how it is. And this is serious. And we've got a lot of sociopathic people apparently that have led our country.
Well, 100%. And I just, like I said, in this case, I got to be honest with y'all. I think that there should be a very serious criminal investigation. There is no government immunity for participating in sex slavery or child trafficking of any kind. And I think the Biden administration, I think he needed to have some more autopan pardons, because I think there's a lot more criminal activity there than what we know about. So, all right, let me bring you on that. Let's hear Bobby on this next clip. We got another clip here. Let's just hear him.
Anybody thinks that we did gold standard medicine in this country from these institutions, look at our children. They're the sickest children in the world. Laura, you say that Congressman DeLauro, you say that you've worked for 20 years on getting food dye out. Give me credit. I got it out in 100 days. All right, so let's work together and do something that we all believe in, which is have healthy kids in our country, for God's sake.
Ms.
All
Dean.
do that together. It's not There's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. There's just kids, and we should all be concerned with them.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
I love listening to Bobby. So Bobby as a statesman is one of my favorite, just one of my very favorites. You know, when I've talked to Bobby, that's one of the things that always struck me is he's very much a statesman. And the way he said that and the way he dealt with that. So what was happening is Rep. DeLorno was busting his chops about everything, you know, just trying to go after him because that's what they do. And Bobby's response was, you know, and DeLorno said something, and it's not in the clip, about, you know, I've been working on this 20 years, this, that, and other, you know, pontificating. And Bobby's response was, yeah, you've been working on food dyes for 20 years. We got it in 100 days. So, you know, I got a huge boot out of that. And more importantly, though, he basically told DeLorno to pound sand, but he did it in a way where it's kind of hard to be mad at him because, yeah, we got sick kids and we should all come together on that, right?
That's right. We should. And our kids in our country represent what not to do with kids in a country. We have kids that are getting increasingly sick with all kinds of maladies, including type 2 diabetes and all this stuff that's completely avoidable, Tom. And
oh, yeah.
People can say, you know, I'm working on it. And that fair statement, but what does that mean? I mean, here I have a pen. If I simply work on picking up the pen and I keep going like this and never pick it up, I can safely say I'm working on trying to pick it up. But it comes a point in time where you pick up the damn pen and you get to work. And I appreciate what Secretary Kennedy said in that, and he does deserve credit. Now, there's more to be done, granted, but this is one of the most powerful things in that clip, I think, was this is not about a Republican-Democrat issue, Republican-Democrat children. This is about children. This is about the future of our country. These are our future leaders out there, maybe a future president out there, who knows? But we've got to start right now and never take the foot off the gas pedal again.
Well, I would agree with you. And, you know, when we look at this and we think about what they're talking about, you know, a lot of us would have liked to have seen Bobby do some big things already. But I'm just going to, you know, I've been on record on this already. I'm of the White House has told him he's not allowed to just outright ban mRNA. He's not allowed to do that. So he's got to go through whatever hoops he's got to go through. I would love to see that ban, but I mean, I don't. We know where Bobby is. You know, he was involved with the COVID fight. He was there all the time. I mean, he knows what's going on. You know, he's not doing it because he doesn't have the authority to do it. So, you know, while we're waiting for some of these big things like that to happen, while we're shooting for that, you know, you got to give him kudos because he is getting some stuff done. And there was so much. And like I said, nobody even thinks about the hundreds of thousands of missing kids being under his purview, but everything's under his purview. I mean, there's so much stuff there. I mean, I think he's doing a pretty darn good job so far on a lot of stuff. I do wish he was a little more aggressive on some stuff, but you know, from what I'm hearing out of D.C., Bobby's got his hands pretty tied on some stuff. So,
yeah, he's got what's going on, man, and I think we celebrate those victories.
100%. All right, now we got this guy. There we go. Ready?
If you are successful in banning fluoride, I noticed you congratulated Utah and Florida, I think, for banning it. That's up to them. They can do what they want. But we better put a lot more money into dental education because we're going to need a whole lot more dentists.
I think that, you know, Marty McCary's concern with ingestible fluoride is that the emerging science shows the benefits to fluoride to caries and to cavity prevention comes from topical exposures rather than it was once thought that it was systemic, that if you ingested it, that the benefit came from that. We now know that virtually all the benefit is from topical, and we can get that through mouthwashes, we can get through fluoridated toothpastes. The National Toxicity Program issued a report in August, a meta-review of all the science that now exists on fluoride, and showed a direct inverse correlation between fluoride exposure, dose-related, and lower IQ. It's an issue that we have to all be concerned with. We want high IQ kids.
Mr. Hoyer,
right now.
Mr. Hoyer.
I appreciate that. And I look forward to working with you on it.
Okay, so this clown This clown here is a dentist. And I don't think I've ever publicly talked about this. And no offense to my dentist friends, I've got a couple of them, but he's a dentist. I mean, folks, come on. It's a dentist. He's going to lecture Bobby on health. Fluoride. I mean, it's lowering the kid's IQ. It's making them dumb. It works just fine if you brush your teeth with it and then spit it out. But if you don't swallow it, it doesn't make you sick. This shouldn't be a complicated thing. And this clown's up here. That is Rep. Mike Simpson, by the way, who is a dentist, not a doctor, a dentist. Come on.
Well, it's fascinating on that, Tom. You know, the thought was, just so people know, that, you know, fluoride was shown over time to, you know, kind of harden the enamel and help prevent cavities. That's true. We know that has a case out there. So what they thought was at the time, whether it was sinister motives or not, was let's just put fluoride everywhere and make it systemic so as to prevent that in a global or countrywide manner. Well, that's the problem right there. It's two different things. And that, you know, person there, the Congressman Simpson, I think you said,
Yeah.
to say that we're going to need more dentists was misleading. I think we need more dentists that know what they're doing. I think that's actually probably true. There is such a thing now, people need to know, called functional, holistic, or biological dentistry that have determined things exactly as you just saw, that topical application in some places for teeth is good. They've also determined, interestingly enough, that utilizing antibacterial mouthwash is bad. You know, it actually contributes to higher blood pressure and lack of nitric oxide development that leads to higher or more hypertension. So, you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. I agree we need more dentists that know what they're doing and doesn't, you know, don't get stuck in the old ways. So that's a great soundbite right there.
I hate going to the dentist, so I got to be honest with you. I don't need any more dentists.
Yeah.
I mean, this is I just don't like it. So, anyways, and we got more of this. But Mark, I know that you got to go, and I appreciate you joining us as always. Everybody, make sure you're supporting Mark. Kingdom Fuel. Check out Kingdom Fuel. Go to TomRenz.com. Check out Kingdom Fuel. Check out what him and Michelle do. They do great work. Wonderful people, wonderful products. Make sure you're supporting them. Good friends to me, and I really appreciate all you do, Mark.
Tom, it's the same. Mutually honored to be here with you, and just here's to what you're doing, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day.
Will do.
All righty. Mark Sherwood, I am glad to call him a friend. He's a good guy. But let's get back and make sure you're supporting him. Kingdom Fuel is great product line. Go to TomRenz.com, check it out. I want to get back. I got a lot more Bobby clips. There's a lot that happened yesterday, and I think this is really important. Folks, it really is. This is really Bobby's helping to change the tone and tenor of the conversation related to health and being healthy. And it's really a crucial thing. So let's listen to the next clip. This is Congressman Fleischman here, if I'm not mistaken. Is that Mueller? I don't know.
We are about to reissue the dietary guidelines, and we're going to do it very quickly. We have until January, but we're going to do it. I think we'll have it done even before August. And we took the Biden guidelines, which were 453 pages long and were clearly written by industry, that are incomprehensible, driven by the same industry capture and those kind of carnal impulses that put Fruit Loops at the top of the food pyramid. And we are changing that. So we're going to have 4-page dietary guidelines that tell people essentially eat whole food, eat the food that's good for you. That's going to drive changes in the school lunch programs. And we're going to need your help to make sure we can get good school lunches to Head Start. I've been touring these Head Start facilities. Everything they eat is in a package, and it is just loaded with sugar and with chemicals. We're poisoning this generation, 800,000 kids, the poorest kids in our country, and we're starting them out with this count against them. with, diabetes, pre-diabetes. 38% of our youth now are diabetic or pre-diabetic. That was zero when I was a kid.
38%.
Miss-
Anybody
Dean.
thinks that we did gold standard medicine in this country from these institutions, look at our children. They're the sickest children in the world. Lori, you say that excuse me, Congressman DeLauro, you say that you've worked for 20 years on getting food
Here
dye
it
out.
comes again.
Give me credit. I got it out in 100 days.
And then he goes on there. But this is a big thing, folks. We do have the sickest kids in America or in the world. Our kids are sick. There are just tremendous issues everywhere, and nobody is doing anything about it except for we've just continued to double down. And when we look at the last administration that's okay with trafficking children, I guess it makes sense when you say, well, why would they not do something to keep the kids healthy? Well, because they don't care about the kids. That was quite clear in the last administration. The Biden clowns did not care about kids. They did not care what happened to these kids. It was a disaster. So that's, I guess it shouldn't be a surprise here, but here's some more. I listen, folks, I want to get through this because it's really important. What Bobby said was critical and we need it out there.
We're seeing epidemics of colorectal cancer, young age Alzheimer's, all these things. And I think the research at the front end is every bit as important at the hind end.
Senator Murphy made a good point. The NIH has made all these extraordinary breakthroughs, and particularly in treating cancer and, reducing mortalities for colorectal cancer. But my question is, isn't it as important to find out why kids are getting colorectal cancer? When you and I were kids, there were 0 kids with colorectal cancer. It's epidemic now. So it's not really a badge for us when we say, oh, we can make it less lethal. Why don't we go figure out what's causing it and eliminate that exposure with all of these, with Alzheimer's, with, heart disease? There's something is making Americans very, very sick.
I wonder what that is. All right, we're going to interrupt Bobby right there because they're talking about the cancer explosion, and they're talking about that the kids and Americans are getting very, very sick. Geez, I wonder what would be causing that. I wonder what the issue is there. Now, here's the thing. Bobby is apparently not allowed to say, yes, ever since the mRNA vaccines came out, this is what's happening. But ever since the mRNA vaccines came out, this is what's happening. The explosion in cancer is absolutely 100% tied in with mRNA vaccines. Now, is that the only cause? No. There are other causes. There are other contributing factors. But the mRNA cancer vaccines are exactly that. They're cancer. They cause cancer. You can't put SV40 and SV40 promoters in a vaccine and then be surprised when it causes cancer, because that's what it's used for. They give rats and mice that are humanized SV40 to give them cancer so that they can study it. Think about that. But yet it made its way into our vaccines, our safe and effective vaccines, right? It is insanity, folks. It is absolute insanity. I really don't even know what to say about this. The fact that we were able to have this hearing and no one had the courage to bring up the elephant in the room is bothersome to me. Now, I'm pretty sure Bobby's not allowed to. I'm pretty sure that they literally said, if you talk about mRNA, we're firing you. But come on. Really? We don't know what this is from. We don't know what the cause is or where it's coming from. I don't know, folks. The whole thing is nauseating to me. I mean, it's so corrupt. It's so fake. It's so just, I don't know. You know what? This is a little bit happier clip. Let me get this next one. It's a little bit happier. That just the fact that they had that and then no one had the gonads to say, yeah, last couple of years cancer's exploded. What's changed? Because we all know what's changed. And it's just that no one has the courage to call it out in Washington. No one. I don't understand that. Producer Andrea, we are having some technical glitches here and there. I might need you to pop in a little bit in case this is systemic here. But I'm having some interesting things happening on my screen. All right. Let's see this next clip. Let's see if this will play properly. Should be. Listen, we are nothing if not the most professional group on the planet here. So, we've got just a minor issue here. Let's see what this one is.
The budget for my agency increased by 38% over the Biden administration, and Americans got sicker, and more Americans overdosed, and more Americans died from cancer, and we have now an epidemic of colorectal cancers in our children, and the chronic disease rate has now gone up to 60%. The autism rate has dropped to 1 in 31 children, and all that money that was supposed to cure those diseases or avert them, none of it worked. All we need is leadership and a new vision, and I'm bringing that to my agency. So we're actually doing more with less, and we are going to continue to do that. And what I'm doing at my agency is I'm realigning all these perverse incentives that have driven up costs and driven down health. I'm realigning so that people can make money in this country and markets can make money.
Look at
the budget for my agency increased.
Okay. So here's the thing that's going on there. Bobby is talking to these guys because they're talking about the budget and this, that, and other. And these guys are grumbling. Anything Trump wants to do to cut budget, cut this. And they're talking about health and these health issues and budget. And Bobby's saying, listen, it ain't the money. It ain't the money. Because health has collapsed under the Biden administration. And we're not getting anything out of it. Nothing, right? It's not the money. It's the application of science. It's the application of common sense. Bobby if there's one thing that Bobby has done brilliantly, and he did this in his campaign and has done it through the confirmation and right up to this day, Bobby is a smart dude. And what he is doing is he is talking about the application of real science. You can't argue with real evidence. All Bobby's saying is he keeps pointing to the bad science because everything they say is based on bad science. And it's a brilliant strategy because nothing NIH, nothing the CDC, nothing these guys are saying is about, it's not about money. It's always the bad science. Producer Andrea, are you there? Are you
Yes,
available and here?
I'm here.
Okay. Well, if you should join us here for a minute. Oh, there you are. So you've been with me for more than a minute here.
A minute.
You've tolerated me for more than a minute or two. Foundational to our work. Do you think it's fair to say that it is foundational to our work to dig into? And remember, I'm on the attorney side, folks. I'm looking at this from the legal side. Everything we do, we end up looking at the science because the science are the facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has there been a case or any work that we've done where we didn't start out with fraudulent science as the basis for it? I mean, can you remember anything that we've done that didn't start out with fraud science?
The corruption in the healthcare with the science. I mean, what we saw in COVID, some of us for the first time, like you said, you thought vaccines were great before COVID. A lot of people weren't aware of this. A lot of people thought, I have to go to the dentist. I have to have a pediatrician. I have to do well checkups for my kids. They need all their vaccines. The fluoride in the water is good. A lot of people just didn't know how bad it had gotten. And I think for me, the most shocking thing was when we first started to discuss the possibility of these things being corrupt and nefarious and the Rockefellers and all these things. We were censored so heavily. We were told that we were crazy. When I started speaking about HCQ, I had death threats. I had people telling me that I was going to hurt people. I was going to be responsible for death. There would be blood on my hands if I didn't mask my kids. I was a horrible mother. And I think that was the biggest slap in the face for me because I said, wow, I always thought anyway, that science was an exploration, that science needs to be tested, that we're supposed to ask questions and we're supposed to continue to evaluate things. you know, like when you think about it, they've been putting it in our water for how long? So how did we survive as a species with our teeth intact for so long without it, right? And if you do it for 5 years, if you do it for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we don't have the research and the data on what that means because we just started doing it, right? So it's the same with, it's funny when you talk about the cancer explosion. What happened? All these signals that are popping up all over the place statistically with mortality, right? All seem to just have popped right after the vaccine rollout. The idea that we can't question it, we can't talk about it, and we can't say this needs to be pulled and we need to stop this if we don't have all the facts, if we don't have the information. I don't want to be a lab rat. I don't want my kids to be part of a mass experiment. They don't know what they're doing, but they also don't want us to question it. And that should be terrifying to everyone. This is like World War II Germany experiments where they say, sit down, shut up, take your vaccine, and don't worry about it.
But I'm going to disagree with you on one point, and I'll tell you guys. So producer Andrea has, I come from a background of where, we're just disciplined, hard nosed, push, those sorts of things. Producer Andrea has a background that's a little more of the hippie side of the world, which makes for an awesome dynamic. And so she's had a lot of experience with alternative and some of these different things that I didn't know existed. I just didn't know about them. So she's taught me an immense amount of that stuff over the years. And one of the things that I found is I started looking into all these alternative things that we used to poo-poo. And I was one of the guys that used to poo-poo. I would, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Then as I started digging into this stuff, I keep finding over and over again how accurate it is. What's worse is then I become friends with guys like Henry Ely and Ed Group, who are straight up 100% alternative. And then I start looking at their stuff. And without exception, they're just ridiculously accurate on a ton of different things, right? So as I look at this, I'm finding out that my worldview on all of this is incorrect. And, much like everything else, you get a process, you change, and you start learning things, and you start reevaluating. And so now it's interesting because I've become a hippie Viking, which is a weird combination. But, but as I've done that, I've come to believe one thing that I disagree with you on. I don't think it's that they don't know what they're doing. I think they're intentionally doing it. I used to think.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I meant by the Rockefeller. When you start digging, what I always said is with the COVID vaccines, I said, okay, if it's not being intentionally done nefariously for a depopulation agenda, then why are you not concerned as to why they're doing it at all? This tech has never worked. We have people like Dr. Malone and others, Dr. Ely, Dr. Artis, screaming, Dr. Tenpenny screaming, saying, whoa, we can't give this to pregnant women. We can't give this to kids. It was just always shocking to me that even if you don't believe the whole depopulation agenda, why would you want to be part of an experiment? So the only reason I say that is because I'm trying to bring people who are a little bit more in the middle on this and go, they've admitted they don't know what they're doing. So at the very base, they've admitted they don't know this technology at all. They don't know what it's going to be like in 10 years. We do have the statistics now of the last 2 years. So why are they not being pulled? Because every other vaccine that has like 10 adverse events, 17, 100 gets pulled. Myocarditis happened after the vaccine rollout, and they're still pushing this tech into your kids. Why would you want to be part of an experiment? And again, I don't think it's an experiment like you. I think there's a lot of nefarious things going on here. But even if you don't believe that, I don't know why you would ever let your kids be part of this, especially now after what we've seen.
No, it's sick. All right, well, let's do one more clip here. Let's this Bobby one more time here.
Increased by 38% over the Biden administration. The budget for my
wrong one. I'm sorry, I got the wrong clip here, folks. Give me a second. This is what happens. This is the one. This was the one I wanted to get. Hold on here. I get this right. See, this is normally producer Andrea makes sure that I have these things organized, but today I decided to try and pretend I could do things on my own. And we'll see what happens here. All right, this is the one I wanted. This is important, and I'm going to fuss about this one for a minute. So listen up.
We've also proposed a methodology for regulating and for determining what is dangerous gain of function and what is legitimate scientific investigation, and how to bring the public into that debate, which I think, as you point out, is absolutely critical. That is where we messed up last time. And as you know, we have some of the Democrats here who are, talking about the great science from NIH, but now we have a major agency, intelligence agency, the CIA, the FBI, the DOE, and the State Department have all agreed that NIH research almost certainly led to the pandemic, the COVID pandemic. So that's not the kind of the result that we should be allowing or enabling, and we're going to end that now.
Okay, here's my issue with this. I love what Bobby's saying, but that's not what the executive order said. The executive order said that they're going to allow it to happen. They're going to certify it. They're going to ratify it. It's going to happen. It's just going to happen in a more controlled way. And that is kind of what Bobby's saying, kind of. But, he's talking about banning dangerous gain-of-function research. Well, what gain-of-function research isn't dangerous? I would like to know because gain-of-function means you are making a virus more, with regards to a virus, means you are making it more functional. Either spreads quicker, more deadly, more. So how do you do that safely? Listen to me. Producer Andrea, please tell me. I'm just curious because I'm a dumb lawyer here. If the only actual forms of gain-of-function research that exist for a virus are making it either spread more quickly or more deadly, or a combination of those two, do you see a path for safe gain-of-function research?
It's disgusting because the American people thought that a long time ago. Our great President Obama already banned this. No. No, you might have thought that it wasn't happening on American soil, which it is, but they just rewired all the money to make it seem like we weren't the biggest, ones doing it, when actually we are. We paid for Wuhan to do what they did. We did
100%.
And I would hope that the American people watching this sit back and go, wait a second. I thought we already said that that's not good to do and we need to ban it. And now they're creating, they're creating this legal loophole so that it's not completely illegal to do. They're keeping the door open. And like you're saying, what kind of nefarious, stupid reason would you have to do gain-of-function research ever? Is it because they want to torture more little beagle puppies? The kind of stuff that we're talking about, the stuff that we don't even know, that we'll never know that they're doing is, if you're scared of AI and the Terminator days that are ahead, you should have always been just as terrified of this gain-of-function research, because it is literally the research of bioweapons. Yeah. Why are we doing it? Why are we funding it?
Yeah, well, that's it. Literally, not only, literally is the correct terminology, because it actually is. Mm-hmm. It's dual use research. That means it can be used for good or bad, but it's the same thing. It's still the same research.
And the liberal, communist, socialist crazies that loved Obama loved that he stopped it. You were lied to. So all of you liberals out there who still think that we're the crazy ones, you should be looking at this and your jaw should be dropping over the fact that why are they still talking about gain-of-function research still occurring? It's because it was never banned. They hid it from you. They lied to you.
I have one more non-Kennedy clip that I'm going to show, just because this one made me happy. We're gonna switch up topics here. Kennedy schooled him. That's the moral of the story, and I love almost everything he said. It was wonderful to see. I was very excited about it. But I want to shift gears a little bit. This just made me happy. This is because Harris sucks. She sucked really bad in every sense of the term. And, let me just play this for you.
Lastly, there's nothing about Kamala Harris that's a loser. Let's just put it this way.
I think
nothing about
she lost big time.
You got to.
She lost an election.
The biggest body of
She lost an election.
All right, listen, we are not.
Nothing about Kamala Harris is a loser. Ah, she lost big time.
Hold on.
I'm not being disrespectful.
Yes,
I'm talking
yes,
fact.
absolutely
She
are.
got slaughtered because they disavowed the process. They
Kevin.
anointed her, and she got slaughtered.
Kevin, I just want
That's
to-
what
What was
happened.
the process?
We don't have to
Hold
bake
on a
facts.
second.
We do not have to bake facts.
Hold on a
Rules are
second,
the
Kevin.
facts, too.
Kevin,
But you like
just
to think
one
she
point
was
of
horrific.
clarification. She was elected in the
I just
2020
told him that.
election
She was not
along with
elected
Joe
as president of the
Biden.
United States
She was
because
vice president.
she was
She
anointed
was
into that position.
elected in 2020 on the same ticket.
I just love this. The Democrats, I mean, the CNN, they cannot handle the fact that, I mean, they're still grumping about Kamala getting schooled. Boy, she got shellacked. And I love O'Leary. O'Leary, I mean, he just doesn't give a damn. He just does not care. So he's kind of like a bulldog. It tickles me. By the way, Mike Johnson canceled the votes on Friday. I know I already said that, but
I love that they said she's not a loser. She literally lost.
She's a loser.
She's a loser on every level. She is a loser beyond the fact that she lost. But if you were to just be factual, she lost.
And she sucks. I mean, that's how she got the job, right?
I mean, they should be so embarrassed that she was ever a candidate. You should be embarrassed over the fact that that was the person that they put in to run.
Producer Andrea, you make me work really hard. And I want to put this out there to see if I can convince you that this would be okay for me. This seems like a good work schedule. Like, this is the calendar. The days in yellow are the days that they work, and the days that are not yellow are days they don't work. And this is Congress. You can see that, they get a little bit of time off here, a little bit of time here, a little more here. I mean, but in fairness, they work like almost 3 weeks. Well, I mean, they're only 4-day weeks, but they work 3 4-day weeks. And then, they get a little time off. Then they work 2 more 4-day weeks, and then they get more time off. Then 3 4-day week. Well, no, 2 4-day weeks and a 3-day week. We don't want to overdo it. But I mean, this schedule is pretty tough. But I'm thinking that maybe, but this explains why. Because everybody's mad about Mike Johnson canceling the vote on Friday. I don't think you should be mad. Look at this. This is intense. Producer Andrea, can we move towards this?
I would love it.
You probably would. I probably would too. Especially if we could actually get paid to do it. Unfortunately, we can't milk the American taxpayers to do it. So I guess we're kind of out of luck. We're going to have to actually keep working for a living. Anyways, yeah. So people are mad about that. I mean, everybody's just ripping Johnson apart. They've delivered 5 bills so far, or maybe 6, but it's the fewest bills over time since 1950s.
We talked to Debbie Georgatos out of Texas about their legislative sessions and when they actually work. And when you look at the Texas legislator and their schedule, it's wild. And then when you look at how much they get paid, we talk all the time about the corruption and our politicians being bought off. I mean, we have a big problem in the fact that honestly, in a lot of those levels, they don't get paid hardly anything.
No.
So they have to have other things that they do. And so the good guys, I mean, they're not out there getting, lobbyist payoffs from big pharma, but to do the job, it's not easy. And then the way it's almost like I feel like they set it up to be the cluster that it is intentionally. If you were to look at this like a business, like I said with Debbie, I said, if it was like DOGE that came in and Elon was looking at it, okay, so we're going to pay people very little. It's going to require them to have other income sources to do this servitude type job, basically. And then we're going to set it up to where they can't be effective with the schedule either. Like, even if these people want to work more, those are their windows of opportunity to get anything done. So nothing can get done. And it keeps the bad guys who pull the strings in power and keeps the people who want to get stuff done behind a wall that they just can't break through.
I can't argue with anything you said. I mean, it really is. It's all about manipulating the system so that it can be controlled. That's what's happening, folks. Yeah. I mean, you just have to understand what this game is. And good
representatives are really up against that. Like, you and I have a lot of friends that are great representatives that are out there fighting for good bills and fighting against the bad ones. And at the end of the session, I was just talking to our friend Holly this morning. At the end of the session, when they finish the session, there's you high five over some of your victories, but you always go home with mixed emotions because you also see all the ones that you couldn't do anything about, right? or you're questioning if you should have fought harder. Or, I mean, the good people who are trying to be reps out there, I don't think people realize how difficult that job is.
Yeah, it is more than a little bit. And well, because remember, if you're trying to do it right, you're up against a lot of corruption.
Yeah, the system is designed for the good guys to not succeed in politics.
100%, 100%. Hopefully, you and I and our crew will be able to start changing that. I mean, we're seeing success down there in Oklahoma with the Freedom Brigades, and we'll eventually see that across the country. At least that's my hope. So we'll keep at it, though. But that's why we need everybody's support, because we're still fighting these things. All right. So I want to take the rest of the show. I want to talk about a proposal. And this one I want to talk about because I've never even considered this. Now, y'all know I do that lawyer thing. And, you know, I guess I knew that the courts were enabled to do certain things through certain laws, but I just had never really thought this through in this way. So a guy out there named John Mosley, who, I mean, he runs the Patriot Legal Defense Fund, came up with an idea because we got all these judges, and some of these things that are going on are just egregious, right? And he goes through, the article goes through, it's in the Gateway Pundit. You should take a look at it. But according to the article, Chief Justice Roberts issued a third attack on President Trump. According to the article, meaning that at least 3 times now he's came out and spoken out against President Trump. Ketanji Brown Jackson jumped on that as well. Sonia Sotomayor, she was just at the Bar Association, and she was literally, like rallying the troops to try and challenge Trump. You've got all these different things that are happening, and you got to understand, folks, the appearance of impropriety in a judge is a disaster. And when it happens, it creates questions about the validity of our legal system, our judicial system. We cannot be too clean and pure on those issues, right? So this is a very big deal to me. Very big deal. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening here. So Mosley comes up with this idea, and he's talking about shifting 28 USC 131, chapter 131, rather than section. And that chapter is all about the court. That's where the courts were given their authority for rulemaking, right? So when you go to court as a lawyer, you may go in a criminal court or a civil court. And if you go into civil, you're governed by the rules of civil procedure. And if you go into criminal, you're governed by the rules of criminal procedure. Then you also have the rules of evidence, right? So these are rules for the court. They have the authority of law, but they're more like a regulation, right? And the way it's structured is they're essentially like a regulation. So that's the law of the court. But Congress delegated it, right? So Congress has the authority to do this. Congress does not have to let the courts run themselves. Congress can change those rules if they want. There's a lot of things they can do with it. They've got the power and authority to do it. It's there, right? So the thing that you got to understand is Congress could shift it. And that's what Mosley suggests. He says, well, listen, if the courts aren't going to do right, we'll just make no rules for them, right? You want to stop nationwide injunctions? Well, we can do that. Just got to pass a law. You want to shift the rules of procedure so they quit throwing everything out on standing? Well, we can do that. And I thought this was a very interesting and fairly brilliant idea. Now, it'd have to be done very carefully and with a lot of restraint, because you can't just take it all away. I mean, the courts are experts in their own space, and you have to watch how that's done. But look we've got taking from the article. So the bill asserts that trusting the Supreme Court has led to disappointment, widespread injustice, including nationwide injunctions by cherry-picked, single-biased lower court judges, deadlines which have become in and of themselves unjust and harmful to many seeking their legal rights in court, such as 14 days to challenge a conviction under Rules 2933, resistance to changes of venue necessary to give public confidence and the appearance and reality of unbiased judge and juries, and illogical, inconsistent, unconvincing admission of evidence. Well, we saw a lot of that in the 2020 election, didn't we? This is a really interesting thing. And, producer Andrea back in the 2020 election was helping Joey Gilbert with this campaign. God bless her. She's not an alcoholic. No, I'm kidding. We love Joey. But Joey is actually a friend of mine, everybody. So I'm just teasing him a little bit, but she actually helped him with this campaign and was there for the follow-up. I also was aware of the follow-up. I didn't represent Joey in any of his challenges, but I told him what was wrong with his challenges. If he should have listened, he wouldn't have had any troubles. But anyways, Joey challenged these things, and over again, the courts ignored evidence. They ignored this. They ignored that. They didn't do this. Now that's on a state level. So this is federal. So this would be the federal courts. It wouldn't change the state courts, but it was symptomatic. And we saw the same thing in the federal courts. They would throw things out on standing. They would ignore the evidence. They would ignore this. They'd ignore that. There's a rule. There's a rule that when you make an accusation in a complaint, that the facts included in that complaint must be construed as true, up until the time that you get a chance to challenge them with discovery and other such thing. So, some of these complaints that were filed made legitimate good faith basis, factual bases, and they were ignored or thrown out. Andrea, you saw this.
Yeah, I mean, it was frustrating because, like we say with the election fraud issues that we see, for me, if one ballot is cast fraudulently or fooled with, right? If there's fraud in just one ballot, then we need to examine and look at this and figure out where the problems occur and make sure that that doesn't happen. In my state, the judges would say, well, there might be some issues with these numbers and we see how this doesn't look right, but it's not enough. When we take it all and we put it all together, all the fraud that you caught, which we did and we had the evidence of, wasn't enough to change your election, which is for your guy to win, to sway, to make any major changes in what happened in this election. So you're wasting our time. And that was one of the most frustrating things on the planet, because not only were they wrong with that, but what kind of precedent is that setting for our country? Well, we're basically saying that we know there's election fraud, but it's too small for us to investigate it or try to clean it up. Because there's always going to be some election fraud, right? It's like, no, that is BS. There should never be any election fraud.
That by doing that, what they did was they created a standard that says that basically, unless you can prove that you're going to win this case because there's that much fraud, you can't challenge it. Well, then you can't get to discovery with that standard. That standard makes it impossible to get to discovery, which means you can never prove your case.
It's saying that there was a crime, but it wasn't a big enough crime. That's what I kept saying. It's like me saying someone came in my house and burglarized my home, and a judge looking at me and going, they didn't steal enough, so we don't worry about it. We don't care about it.
Well, that's actually very much what it is. And, the worst part about this whole thing is that you've got to understand that when they create that precedent, they created a situation. That's how Sidney Powell and all these other lawyers got sanctioned and attacked so badly.
Yes.
So what happened is these guys all were getting attacked. And at the end, because of the standards that they set. But the standards created, there's actually a quote in a case. It's Supreme Court precedent. They created an impenetrable wall of justice. You can't get to justice because it's created an impenetrable wall under the law. That's what happened. And so because that precedent was just wrongly set, everything about that's wrong. And it doesn't even follow the rules, to be honest. I mean, they had to stretch and twist and pull some rules to get there. It's really garbage. But that was really what happened with the 2020 election cases, and it was a debacle for the country.
And there's a reason why we see certain little hot spots, like 6 or 7 counties in our entire nation is all that need to be with just enough corruption to take over national campaigns as well and sway national elections. And if they keep it that way, then they fight it this way in the courts with this type of, it is the DOJ and the corruption there is mind blowing.
100%. All right. Well, I got a lot more to say on this, but we're up to the end of the show. So make sure you're back tomorrow. We'll get into more stuff and we'll have more fun. So I appreciate y'all watching, and we will be